We have discussed about forced oscillations, and in forced oscillations we have learned that there will be three forces acting on the object which is oscillating. That's what we have learned in the previous video lecture. So F net acting on forced oscillations is sum of restoring force plus damping force plus applied periodic force. So totally there will be three forces acting on the object which is executing forced oscillations. in damped oscillations there will be only two forces, but in forced oscillations, in order to maintain constant amplitude, there is an applied periodic force, external applied periodic force acting on the object which is oscillating. So overall I can now write net force F will be equal to restoring force is minus K into X and damping force is minus B into V, and the periodic force is plus Fm into cos of omega d into T, where Fm is equal to magnitude of applied periodic force. Fm is magnitude of applied periodic force and omega d is called driven angular frequency. As this is applied force is periodic force, this cos omega d into T, it represents, it is a harmonic function, it is a periodic force which is repeated for every interval of capital T time, and omega d is a driving frequency. Driving frequency mean based on the applied frequency of periodic force, the oscillating object can execute oscillations. Therefore, it is omega d called driving frequency. Now, I can just take this equation and I'll write it like this. F net is equal to ma, right? So m into a plus b into v plus k into x is equal to Fm into cos omega d into T. Just I am taking this equation, basic first equation which I have written. I have just brought it minus bv and minus kx onto the other side. So this gives you m into a is d square x by dt square plus b into v is dx divided by dt plus kx is equal to Fm into cos omega d into T. Divide total expression with m, that gives you d square x by dt square plus b by m dx by dt plus k by m into x is equal to Fm divided by m into cos omega d into T. So this is equation which is like it is a second order differential equation. Is second order differential equation. It is second order differential equation, and this second order differential equation will have a solution, right? So solution of this above expression can be written as x is equal to a into sine of omega d into t plus pi. This is equation which represents solution of above differential equation. And this solution is exactly satisfying the condition of simple harmonic motion. So because A is amplitude, this expression is exactly validating the simple harmonic displacement of simple harmonic motion. So it is exactly comparable with the equation which we have used in the previous examples. So A is amplitude of the object, and this amplitude A can be written as, see, A is amplitude of the oscillating body, and this amplitude is maintained constant, and that amplitude is maintained constant because of the external applied periodic force. So therefore amplitude, even though it is maintained constant, but it is a function of applied force. So I'll write this A can be expressed as F m divided by m whole divided by under root omega naught square minus omega d square whole square plus b omega d divided by m whole square. So this is expression above equation represents amplitude of simple harmonic motion, forced simple harmonic motion. So you can even write this expression as A is equal to Fm divided by m under root of omega naught square minus omega d square whole square plus 4 gamma square into omega d square, where gamma 2 gamma is equal to b by m and omega naught square is equal to k by m. So omega naught and gamma can be just written over here. So it is omega d square whole bracket with plus 4 gamma square into omega d square, where omega d is the angular frequency which is called driving frequency. Omega naught is the actual frequency of the object, or actual frequency of the body which is oscillating. So clearly from these expressions, it is learned that amplitude of the simple harmonic motion is remained constant. It is not variable with respect to time. In this expression A, there is no time here. In the numerator there is no time, and in the denominator also there is no time. So it is not variable with respect to time. It is maintained constant. That's point number 1. Next thing is, here A is amplitude which is depending on omega d in the denominator and Fm. Based on Fm magnitude and based on this omega d value, the amplitude is maintained constant. So there are 3 possible cases, because in the denominator we have omega naught square minus omega d square. So applied frequency, this person who is applying force, he can apply the force periodically such that its angular frequency is omega d. And the person who is oscillating, this swing which is oscillating, it has frequency omega naught. So there are 3 possible cases where you can write omega d is greater than omega naught. Applied frequency, that is called driving frequency, may be greater than original frequency. Omega d can be less than omega naught, or omega d can be equal to omega naught. Based on the driving frequency of the applied force, there can be 3 situations coming across in case of a forced oscillations. So students, as I already mentioned, amplitude, this is expression for amplitude. Amplitude is depending upon Fm magnitude and however omega d. Fm magnitude may be fixed, like Fm is equal to amplitude of applied force. And omega d is called driving frequency. Omega d is driving frequency, and omega naught is natural frequency. So clearly here in this case, the applied resonance will be like not resonance, I'm sorry. Based on this applied frequency, it is that omega d can be greater than omega naught. If omega d is greater than omega naught, then however denominator will be omega naught square minus omega d whole square. So amplitude will be minimum, omega d greater than omega naught. Therefore omega naught square minus omega d whole square plus 4 omega d square gamma square is a maximum. Therefore amplitude is minimum. Likewise, if omega d is less than omega naught, if omega d, that means applied driving frequency, is less than omega naught, then even omega naught square minus omega d square whole square plus 4 omega d square gamma square is equal to maximum. Because see here, omega naught minus omega d, omega naught is greater in this expression 2. So in the second case, omega naught is greater. So what about this total value? It is a positive quantity whole square. Similarly, in the first case, even though omega d is greater than omega naught square minus omega d, even though the second term it is greater, it is whole square. That is the reason why this total term will become positive, and this positive value plus this total will be maximum. So as it is in the denominator, amplitude will be minimum. In the second case also, amplitude is minimum. Right? So therefore, when the applied frequency and applied frequency in the sense driving frequency, if driving frequency is either greater than or less than the actual natural frequency of the object, then the amplitude will be minimum. Then when will be amplitude maximum? Amplitude is maximum if omega naught square minus omega d square is equal to 0. Right? So this becomes 0. That means omega naught square is equal to omega d square. That means omega naught is equal to omega d. So if driving frequency is equal to actual frequency of the oscillating object, then in such cases amplitude A will become Fm divided by m by under root of 4 omega d square into gamma square. So amplitude is maximum. And this condition is called resonance. This condition is called resonance. So when applied frequency and the actual frequency of the oscillating object both are same, then in such cases the body will undergo like this simple harmonic motion, which is forced oscillation, will undergo resonance, and at resonance, amplitude of the oscillating object is maximum. And beyond that, if even though applied frequency, that is driving frequency, less than or greater than actual frequency, amplitude will be decreased, amplitude will not be maximum. So only at resonance condition, the frequency of forced oscillations and frequency of oscillations and applied periodic frequency, if both magnitudes become equal, at that case it will undergo resonance. At resonance, amplitude of the forced oscillations is maximum. So we have discussed that at resonance omega naught is equal to omega d, and amplitude is maximum, and the amplitude is remained constant. That gives you A equal to Fm. Its magnitude is constant, mass of the object is constant, divided by 2 times omega d, because this total first term will become 0. Only second term is left over, and that is under root. It is 4 under root is 2, omega d whole square, root gets cancelled, so it is omega d. This is amplitude which is remained constant. So amplitude of the oscillating forced oscillations will be constant, and along with that we have time period of the forced oscillations equal to 2 pi divided by omega d. As omega d and omega naught both are same, it will be 2 pi divided by omega naught. 2 pi divided by omega naught. And you can even write time period t is equal to 2 pi under root m divided by k. This is constant. So time period of forced oscillations will be remained constant. That is one important thing you should remember. And next thing is velocity. Velocity at resonance. So when we want to find out velocity of the object at resonance, you can write velocity v is equal to dx divided by dt. But what is x? X is equal to a into sine of omega d into t plus pi. That is x. So v will be equal to a omega d. Sign differentiation is cos omega d into t plus pi. So once again differentiating this argument omega d into t, you will be getting this omega d. So this is equation for velocity v. So maximum velocity v is equal to maximum when cos omega dt plus pi is equal to 1. Therefore, v maximum is equal to a into omega d. V maximum is equal to a into omega d, where a is amplitude. A is equal to amplitude of forced oscillations. And in case of amplitude of forced oscillations, you need to substitute this value. A is equal to Fm by m under root of this total. So V maximum can be equal to A into omega d. So this becomes maximum, like maximum velocity will be maximum when the denominator is minimum. So however, denominator will be minimum only at the condition of resonance. So therefore, clearly you can write velocity of forced oscillations is maximum at resonance. Only at resonance, velocity of the forced oscillations is maximum. Therefore, as velocity is maximum, amplitude is maximum at resonance, energy of forced oscillations will be maximum only at resonance. So forced oscillation is the last topic of oscillations chapter. So far in this chapter we have learned equations for simple harmonic motion. We have learned linear simple harmonic motion and angular simple harmonic motion. Linear harmonic motion, A is equal to minus omega square into x, whereas in case of angular SHM, it is alpha is equal to minus omega square into theta. So in order to show that any object which is executing oscillations, in order to show that it is SHM, you need to prove that either A is equal to minus omega square x or alpha is equal to minus omega square into theta. The same thing can be even expressed as F is equal to minus K into X or tau is equal to minus C into theta, where C is torsional constant. This is in terms of force and torque. And this is in terms of acceleration, linear acceleration and angular acceleration. And comparison between linear SHM and angular SHM. In linear SHM, displacement x is equal to a sine omega t plus pi, and in angular SHM displacement is written in terms of theta. Theta is equal to theta naught sine omega t plus pi. Velocity is just differentiation of this x value, so it can be a omega into cos omega t. Differentiation of x gives you v, and one more expression for velocity is omega into under root a square minus x square. And acceleration is differentiation of velocity. It is minus a omega square into sine omega t plus pi. That gives you minus omega square into x. So acceleration is directly proportional to x. Phase of linear harmonic oscillation is omega t plus pi, where pi is called phase difference, or you can call it as phase constant of two oscillating bodies. Likewise, angular velocity is time rate of change of linear displacement. So if you differentiate above expression, we will be getting angular velocity. Differentiating this expression, you will be getting equation for acceleration. So acceleration is equal to d square theta by dt square gives you omega square into this total, which is equal to minus omega square into theta. Phase is however omega t plus pi. In both the cases it is same, and phase constant is pi. So linear SHM, differential equation for linear SHM is d square x by dt square plus omega square into x is equal to 0. This is equation for SHM, and this is linear SHM. Whereas in case of angular SHM, you can write it as d square theta divided by dt square plus omega square into theta is equal to 0. This is equation for angular SHM. Equation for angular SHM. These two equations you need to remember. And other expressions which we have learned is energy of simple harmonic motion. Energy of SHM is like kinetic energy and as well as potential energy. Just x differentiating that, you will get v square. Kinetic energy is half m v square. V value you need to substitute here. And potential energy is half kx square. This can be half kx square. This can be half m v square. Total energy is sum of kinetic energy and potential energy. Total energy will remain constant. It is directly proportional to square of the amplitude. And time period of different pendulums which we have discussed. So time period of simple pendulum is t equal to 2 pi under root L by G. And time period of physical pendulum is also called compound pendulum. So time period of compound pendulum is 2 pi under root I by mgl. And time period of torsional pendulum is t equal to 2 pi under root I by c, where I is moment of inertia, c is torsional constant. or even you can just remember it as T is equal to 2 pi under root displacement by acceleration. So if a particle is executing simple harmonic motion in the straight line path, then its time period T can be written as 2 pi under root displacement divided by acceleration A. If it is executing linear harmonic oscillations along x-axis or y-axis, you will be just taking this expression for time period. And for a spring mass system, we have discussed T is equal to 2 pi under root m by k. It is independent of acceleration due to gravity. It only depends upon spring constant. And for a two body system, you can take time period T is equal to 2 pi under root mu by k, where mu is equal to m1 m2 divided by m1 plus m2. So that means, for example, you have two objects which are oscillating with a spring of spring constant k. This has mass m1 and this has mass m2. Two masses can execute simple harmonic motion like this. When you extend those two masses and leave, two masses will be executing SHM. In such case, m1 will be moving towards the center of mass, m2 will be moving towards the center of mass. Therefore, we will first calculate center of mass, total mass is concentrated at one point for these two masses. So that is called reduced mass, and it is mu. Mu can be m1 m2 divided by m1 plus m2. Just substituting this mu in the expression T is equal to 2 pi under root mu by k. So its time period can be calculated. So whenever you are getting this kind of situation where two masses are attached with one spring or two masses are attached with two springs, you need to take its reduced mass and spring constants expressions and you need to substitute over there. Suppose if two springs are there and two masses are attached, then in such cases, what you will do? You have two springs, they are connected in series. You have mass m1, you have mass m2, it is k1 and this is k2. So time period T will be equal to 2 pi under root mu divided by k effective. K effective, as these two springs are connected in series. These two springs are connected in series. K effective will be equal to 2k1 k2 divided by k1 plus k2. Right, that gives you k effective. Just substituting over there, you will get time period T. And the other thing which we have discussed in this video sessions is combinations of the springs. So when springs are combined in series combination, this is the expression. In parallel combination, their sum get like individual spring constants are added up to give net effective capacity, net effective spring constant. In series, their reciprocals are added to get reciprocal of effective spring constant. And whenever the spring is cut into two parts of length m and n, if you have a spring, that spring is cut into two parts. One part is m and the other part is n. In such case, spring constant of the first part is m plus n divided by m into k. And whereas spring constant of the second one is m plus n into k divided by n. So these are the spring constants which depends upon length, because as we know k is inversely proportional to L. As length changes, spring constant would undergo change for constant force. So based on that, we are deriving equation for K1 and as well as K2, which are spring constants changing with respect to length of the springs. So these things which we have discussed in this video session.